I want to speak to you very plainly right now, and I really need you to take it in without any outside interference, without caring what other people might say, without your phone buzzing, without the television droning on, and without any of the countless tiny interruptions designed to pull your attention away from right here, right now. The reason is that what I have to share simply won't sink in if you're only paying partial attention, if you're swiping on a screen, or if you're doing that familiar habit where you look like you're paying attention, but your brilliant brain is already jumping 3 steps forward to plan out tomorrow's chores. You know exactly what I mean. Stressing over that running to-do list or rethinking that awkward chat from yesterday that is still gnawing at your heart. What we are doing right now demands all of your attention. It asks for a level of focus you probably haven't offered to anything in quite a while, perhaps even longer than you'd like to confess. I realize that might come off as a bit intense, but honestly, you've been running away from being present for quite some time. You've been stuffing every single moment of silence full of chatter, busyness, doom scrolling, and literally any possible distraction to stop yourself from just sitting by yourself and facing your own internal reality. Seriously, you've noticed it happening, right? Sighs. It's that bizarre feeling that you are somehow existing in 2 completely separate worlds at the exact same time. First, there's the outward-facing life where you show up, check the boxes, say what people want to hear, and look like you're juggling everything perfectly. But then there is your private world, the reality that lives hidden deep down. This is the space where things just feel profoundly wrong. It feels as though you're stuck wearing a favorite outfit that you've totally outgrown. It's as if you're wandering through your daily routine like a complete outsider. Truly, you're like a house guest who has memorized where everything goes, but still knows they don't actually live there. It feels like you've been suffocating, just waiting to exhale. I know. You're holding out for a person or an event that you can't even put into words yet. You sit back and observe people living out their normal routines while you just feel more and more detached. You feel more unseen every day, almost like you're sitting in a theater watching a film about yourself, rather than actually participating in the plot. Chuckles. Here is the reality of the situation that you either haven't picked up on, or maybe you have, but you're just refusing to accept. Your closest friends and family are reacting to a shift inside you that they can't quite put their finger on. It's true. Chats that used to be completely effortless now seem awkward and forced, almost as if a hidden barrier just dropped down between you. You notice others staring at you in a weird, hesitant way, trying to solve the puzzle of who you are now or what exactly shifted. You might feel like the whole world is backing up, forming a gap you can't figure out how to cross, stranding you right in the center of your own world to feel totally lonely despite a crowded room. The really awful thing, though, is that you're beginning to buy into the harsh narrative that pops up when things get quiet. It's that little voice telling you that you're being left out because you are fundamentally broken. It says folks are stepping back because they've noticed a flaw that makes you unworthy. It tricks you into thinking your current loneliness is just proof that you aren't good enough. However, what if that inner critic has it entirely wrong? What if this growing gap isn't about people abandoning you, but about life getting you ready for what's next? Really let that idea sink in. Could it be that the quiet around you isn't a void, but rather a safe haven? Absolutely. Consider that this painful loneliness might just be the absolute kindest thing the universe could give you right now. It's not a punishment meant to isolate you, but rather a necessity because you need to hear a message that can only get through when the chatter stops completely. Reflect on the times you got the most crucial insights of your journey. Did those epiphanies happen in a noisy hall full of folks chatting over one another? Did they strike you when you were zoned out, staring at a screen, barely paying attention? I doubt it. The truly life-altering realizations hit you when there was breathing room, when silence fell, and when you were finally positioned to listen without a million distractions fighting for your focus. That is exactly what is going on in your life right now, even if you haven't quite connected the dots yet. You are currently moving through a phase where the excess is being removed. It's a time when the habits and items you once thought you couldn't live without are just dropping out of your life. It's a period where the friends who were always around are fading into the background. It's a phase where the hobbies that kept you busy feel totally pointless now, and you've been reading this as a defeat, thinking it proves that you or your world is fundamentally messed up. Wait, what if you aren't actually losing anything? What if life is just clearing out all the junk that was standing in the way of what you're actually meant to have? Laughs. You simply can't grab onto a new opportunity if you're already clenching onto old baggage. You won't be able to catch a fresh calling if your mind is jammed full of what everyone else wants from you. You are never going to evolve into your true self if you spend all your energy propping up the person you were yesterday. Let's dig a bit further into this now, because this is the part that might sting a little. You've always had a specific motive for being the dependable friend, the one who texts back immediately, and the rock who shows up for every single emergency or favor someone asks of you. Honestly, that underlying motive isn't quite as selfless as you'd like to think. A big chunk of your self-esteem and ego comes from playing the hero that everyone relies on when their lives crumble. You love being the therapist, the fixer, the wise guide who has all the answers, and the person nobody can survive without. You get a quiet thrill out of playing that part. Unfortunately, that same thrill has been quietly locking you in a cage. Honestly, because as long as you're busy fixing everyone else's life, you never have to sit down and figure out your own. If you spend all your time putting out their fires, you don't have to look at the flames in your own house. If your value is tied entirely to how useful you are to your friends, you avoid the hard work of finding out who you are when you aren't doing favors. Now brace yourself for the toughest reality check. This is the dynamic that's been running your life behind the scenes for way longer than you realize. Deep down, you are actually terrified of how powerful you truly are. I don't mean a toxic need to boss people around, but rather the profound strength that unlocks when you embrace your authentic self, your true potential, and the highly unique purpose you were put here to fulfill. A calling that is meant exclusively for you, nobody but you. You run from it because owning that kind of potential means you have to take real ownership of your life. It forces you to step into the spotlight, to be vulnerable, and to be perceived in a way that strips away all your camouflage. Stepping into that strength means you lose the right to use your busy schedule, your draining friendships, or your external duties as scapegoats for your lack of progress. It means you are fully on the hook for the talents you were born with, and taking on that level of responsibility is incredibly scary. I totally get why it freaks you out. It is vastly more comfortable to play it safe, act as the loyal sidekick, and hide comfortably in the shadows of other people's dramas. It takes way less effort to just let your friends' crises serve as your permanent alibi for stalling on your own dreams. It is much simpler to let their demands script your schedule, guaranteeing you never have free time to explore your true life's work. However, this current chapter of your life, this weird period of quiet, separation, and loneliness, is the universe systematically tearing down every single crutch you've been leaning on. Life is silencing every distraction so you can hear a higher calling. It is wiping away every chore that isn't yours to do, and lifting every weight you were never meant to carry. This isn't happening to punish you with loneliness. It's happening because the universe is trying to hand you a message that requires absolute focus. A deeply personal truth needs to be revealed to you right now. But that dialogue is impossible if your brain is cluttered with 100 competing opinions. A specific life mission is waiting for you, but you physically cannot accept it if your arms are full of everyone else's problems. A whole new identity is fighting to break through, but it can't survive if you keep performing the old, outdated role you were never meant to play forever. It's a hard pill to swallow, and that leads perfectly into the specific struggle you've been feeling the most acutely right now. It's the issue that has likely brought you the deepest heartache and endless overthinking. Those friendships that suddenly feel ice cold. Friends are backing off just as you start feeling more grounded and capable in your own skin. This isn't occurring because you are somehow flawed or failing socially. It is happening because your personal energy is evolving, and those who aren't meant for your next chapter are naturally repelled by that energetic change. They aren't sitting around actively plotting to leave you out. Instead, they are just intuitively reacting to your new wavelength. They can't make sense of this new energy you are giving off, and it confuses them. This new you completely shatters the mold they put you in, so they retreat. Not because you are broken, but because your profound growth is making them squirm in their own stagnation. This authentic self that is finally waking up. That bold identity you can physically feel trying to break free from your old limitations is simply incompatible with bonds forged with your past self, which means outgrowing them isn't a tragedy, regardless of how much it hurts right now. Really, it's just clearing the decks for what's better. Let's get incredibly real for a second. How many of your friendships only exist because you endlessly pour out your own energy without getting anything back? You're always the cheerleader, the sounding board, and the reliable backup plan. How many of those ties would immediately snap if you stopped throwing your own well-being under the bus to accommodate their desires? How many folks stick around solely for the favors you provide, rather than because they genuinely cherish your soul? So, what do you think happens to those dynamics when you retire from being the universal doormat? How do people react when you finally start prioritizing your own goals over carrying their emotional baggage? Those are incredibly painful things to chew on. They really are. How does the dynamic shift when you start enforcing boundaries? When you put your own compass first instead of dropping everything to play paramedic for their drama? How do they react? Exactly. What becomes of those friendships when you stop being a convenient tool? Which leads us to the ultimate question you've been dodging. The uncomfortable truth that haunts you during those silent moments you desperately try to medicate with busyness. What if the friends who abandon you the minute you set boundaries were never truly your friends to begin with? What if the connections that shatter when you grow weren't based on love, but were merely selfish business trades? Let that sink in. What if the widening gap between you and them is just a completely logical consequence of a bond built on quicksand? Those ties were engineered specifically for a version of yourself that is currently expiring. They are connections that simply cannot, and absolutely must not, carry over into the new era of who you are becoming. This is incredibly tough stuff to swallow, truly, but I really need you to grasp an essential truth about this current phase of your life, this heavy chapter of loneliness, of losing things, and of feeling stuck in limbo between your past and your future. This phase isn't going to last forever. This isn't the finish line. This is merely the waiting room. Exactly, you're wrapped up in the chrysalis stage, and chrysalises are biologically meant to be pitch black, suffocating, quiet, and deeply disorienting. That discomfort is entirely the intended design. Deep within that shell, a caterpillar has to completely liquefy before it can ever restructure itself into a butterfly. If a bug possessed human emotions during that process, it would swear it was dying. It would panic, thinking its entire universe was being violently stolen from it. It ought feel completely unmoored, completely destroyed, and honestly, that assessment would be pretty accurate. The old bug genuinely has to perish so a winged creature can take its first breath. And you are currently wading through that messy, liquefying stage. The identity you constructed entirely out of people-pleasing, tying your self-worth to doing favors, and masking your immense potential under the guise of just being nice, is melting away. That weak persona is breaking down, and if it feels like your ego is dying, that's because it actually is. Yet the final result is not a tragedy. The outcome is a profound rebirth. Now listen closely to this specific reality check. This is the piece of advice that might trigger or confront you far more than anything else we've discussed today. You have been profoundly terrified of making this leap. Maybe you aren't aware of it on the surface, but deep in your subconscious, the part that actually drives your daily habits, you are scared to death. You've been fighting this evolution tooth and nail because you implicitly understand the high price tag it carries. You are well aware of the heavy demands it will place on you. You recognize that fully embracing your authentic self requires you to permanently kill off the fake persona you've been parading around. It dictates that you can't use your friends' emergencies as a shield to hide your own cowardice anymore. It forces you to stop avoiding your own destiny by constantly playing the victim to other people's chaos. It strips away your ability to complain that you simply lack the hours in the day, or that you're just emotionally tapped out, or that you are swamped managing the lives of the people around you. Therefore, the universe has forcibly ripped every single one of those excuses right out of your hands. Your loneliness has successfully wiped out your usual busy work. The separation from friends has deleted their demands, leaving you stranded in a room with the single agonizing question you've spent a lifetime dodging. What is your actual identity when nobody is begging for your help? Actually, more than one question. Who do you become when there are zero crises to manage for your peers? Who is left standing when the house is still? Your screen is completely dark, and absolutely nobody expects anything from you. Figuring out the response to that specific dilemma is what you've been desperately fleeing, because unlocking that truth forces you to look directly in the mirror. It demands you evaluate your own selfish wants, your hidden anxieties, your unique talents, and your true life purpose. It makes you confront the scary fact that you owe it to the world to actually use the potential you were born with. It leaves you entirely without a scapegoat, meaning you can't blame bad luck or needy friends for your failures anymore. This deep reckoning is precisely why life forced you into solitude. You didn't end up here by making a terrible mistake. Definitely not. You aren't serving a sentence for bad karma. You aren't sitting here alone because you're an outcast, weird, or fundamentally unlovable. Isolation was necessary because it's impossible to evolve into a new person if you remain surrounded by an audience that demands you play your old character. You aren't able to accept. You simply cannot welcome the blessings of tomorrow if you're white-knuckling the ghosts of yesterday. You will never make out the quiet whispers of your destiny if your mind is drowning in the shouting of everyone else's needs. The stage had to be emptied out completely. The static had to be muted. The cheap entertainment had to be unplugged. Again, this wasn't designed to torture you, but rather because you are worthy of finally getting what's meant for you. And grasping new gifts requires open, empty palms. To repeat myself, you can't fill your own cup if you are constantly tipping it over to water someone else's garden. You simply can't walk freely into a bright future while dragging an anchor of old habits behind you. So, my lovely friend, here is the exact action I need you to take today. No matter where you're sitting, quit letting your eyes dart forward to your next chore. Drop that imaginary argument you're having in your head with the guy who cut you off. Quit practicing the dialogue for that stressful meeting you have on the calendar. Abandon the mental math of trying to solve the drama currently ruining your buddy's week. I am begging you to ground yourself completely, to exist purely in the now, and to be radically open to what you are experiencing in this exact second. Furthermore, I want you to genuinely sit with and emotionally process the internal shifts you've been going through. Really, that deep fatigue you've been muscling past, that ache of isolation you keep trying to drug away with scrolling, the buried rage you swallow down, the sadness you refuse to cry out, the quiet optimism you're too scared to voice aloud. Feel every ounce of it, every last drop, the entire complicated, knotty web of emotions you have spent years sprinting away from. All that suppressed feeling has been piling up in the corners of your soul, steadily whispering truths to you regardless of whether you cared to tune in. And it's been urgently signaling a harsh reality, a very raw truth you've been utterly terrified to acknowledge, which is that you absolutely cannot survive living like this anymore, that your current lifestyle is a fast track to burnout, and a major shift is non-negotiable, that you are standing right on the cliff's edge of a transformation you don't even have vocabulary for yet. And ultimately, the sole method of surviving this gauntlet is to bravely march straight into the fire. You can't bypass it. You can't jump it. You can't look at your phone to ignore it. You have to wade directly into the mess with wide eyes, a bleeding heart, and zero armor. This is your turning point. This is the crossroads your entire life has trained you to navigate. The exact precipice you didn't even realize you were desperately hoping to reach. It is the climax that every tearful late-night monologue you've mumbled to yourself, every agonizing hour of quiet you endured, every friendship that crashed and burned, and every coping mechanism that was forcefully taken away from you has been meticulously constructing, meaning you did not just accidentally wander into this breakthrough. You were purposefully escorted to this spot. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a lucky chance. It wasn't a social media feed serving you content. And it wasn't just the chaotic math of the universe. You were brought to this exact place because you are finally equipped to handle it. Despite the fact that you feel completely unprepared, thoroughly terrified, and totally blind to the future, you are capable of this because the trials of your past have trained you well. And surviving that training camp has undoubtedly been the most agonizing trial of your existence. Thankfully, the boot camp is finally over. The painful pruning phase has ended. The deafening quiet has accomplished its goal. The separation from others has done the heavy lifting it needed to do. So what remains now? I know you're wondering what could possibly be left standing in the rubble. Well, what's left is simply you, completely naked and devoid of the heavy armor you've used to shield your heart, rooted firmly in the reality of your genuine soul, embracing the identity you've possessed since birth, but were always too cowardly to show the world. There is another crucial point here, and I really want its gravity to hit you. Seriously, we are talking about your eternal essence, not the fake mask you wear for the public, not the idealized hero you strive to invent, not the compromised version you thought was practical, and not the dutiful sidekick society demanded, but your raw, original soul. The pure iteration of yourself that thrived long before the world piled chores, guilt, and acting classes onto your shoulders. The inner child who instinctively understood its desires, grasped its earthly purpose, and confidently owned its true identity before society slapped a rigid label on your forehead. That incredibly pure, authentic self never actually passed away. That vital spirit has simply been sitting patiently in the background, biding its time in the newfound silence, just waiting for the clutter to clear. Now that the stage is finally swept clean and the noise has completely faded, that core self is primed and eager to walk out into the spotlight. And the beautiful thing is that once you take that step, once you allow your truest voice to echo and your genuine instincts to take the wheel, the entire foundation of your existence shifts profoundly. The friends who only liked the doormat version of you will either have to rise to the occasion, or they'll naturally exit stage left. The daily routines that suited your smaller self will either have to stretch to accommodate your growth, or they'll shatter entirely. Naturally, the toxic habits you built to cope with hiding yourself will either morph into healthier ones or vanish into thin air. Absolutely none of that fallout is yours to manage. You are not tasked with smoothing over the friction your growth causes in other people's lives. Your one and only duty, your singular job, is to fiercely and unapologetically embody your genuine self. You need to quit cowering in the shadows, turn your brightness all the way up, and refuse to shrink yourself just to protect the fragile egos around you. Your true calling is to bravely inhabit the powerful skin you've been running away from, having blind faith that any friend or habit you lose during the transition was destined to leave anyway. So please hear me clearly. The painful training arc of your story is officially over. The heartache, the severed friendships, the deafening quiet, and all those long nights of crying and overthinking have purposefully navigated you to this exact threshold. And this threshold isn't a tragic finale. This is day one of your real life. This is where you finally put one foot in front of the other. You won't walk with perfect confidence about your final destination, mostly because the map is still blank. You won't possess crystal clear instructions for the journey ahead, because the universe is keeping those details hidden for now. Instead, you will walk with the unshakable, bone-deep certainty that staying stagnant is spiritual suicide, that playing small is no longer an option, and that you refuse to drag that massive bag of rocks into tomorrow. You march into the unknown, armed only with radical faith, carrying a burning belief that whatever magic lies over the horizon is infinitely richer than the dust you're leaving behind. It is so vastly superior to your past that you step up armed solely with a fierce readiness to finally drop the excuses and unapologetically bloom into your ultimate form. And I promise you, the moment you make that leap, the universe will start organizing itself perfectly around you. This magic happens not because you finally micromanaged everything to perfection, but because you permanently retired from being the world's mechanic and actually started participating in your own joy. The peace doesn't come from finding all the answers, but from dropping this endless puzzle of other people's drama so you can finally look your own reality in the eye. You won't find harmony by successfully turning into the perfect puppet the crowd demanded, but by bravely shedding the strings and becoming the masterpiece you were meant to be all along. The universe cleared the room just so this message could reach your ears. Life muted the volume on everything else strictly so you could digest this truth. Your toys and coping mechanisms were confiscated to force your eyes open to the blatant reality staring you in the face. And now that the blindfold is off, you can never go back to sleep. Truly. And that uncomfortable awakening is the absolute perfect place for you to be standing right now. So go ahead and inhale deeply, press your palm firmly against your sternum, and simply feel the rhythm of your own heart. Notice the vibrating energy of your own survival, the deep reservoir of resilience still pumping through your veins, and the immense capacity for greatness that your soul was built to handle. Rest in the absolute certainty that all the brutal chapters, every lonely weekend, every quiet evening that tasted like rejection, every missed opportunity, and every friend who turned their back, were all just an elaborate demolition project meant to clear ground for your actual destiny. And I swear to you, the blessings rushing toward you dwarf the things you are crying over right now. The agonizing boot camp is finally a wrap. The painful quiet has delivered its lesson. The stage is completely empty and waiting for you. Now it is time to confidently strut out into the brilliant reality you were destined to inherit. You aren't getting this because you were perfect, or because you accrued enough good karma points. No, it is simply because the fire has forged you into someone who can finally carry it. Because you are genuinely strong enough now. because the magnificent soul that has been hiding in the shadows all these years is finally ready to take the mic. And there is absolutely nothing stopping you. The path is totally clear, and there are zero obstacles left to hold you back.